What's up, guys? We're back. We're back. We're back. What time is it? Alright, you are. We're back. First question: how long is your longest video on YouTube? All right. I'm interested in people are into this frenzy of shorts, making short form content, and then there are these podcasts that go forever and ever and ever and ever. So, is there a sweet spot that you like? Incrementum, we're back. Right? Oh my God, Dylan Smith, what time is it? What time is it? Um, hey, Incrementum. I call you back again? I think we Brady Stewart. Hey, what's up? What's up, guys? I haven't been engaging with the chat because I've been talking to my friend. Well, 8:30 p.m. for me. Brady must be stateside, if I'm not mistaken. Right. So I've just been. I can't juggle plates like my friend will. I'm really terrible. I like focusing. I enjoy it. I don't want to be good at multitasking. I really don't want to be good at it. So, but nothing important. So the main title question is how I want to know. It's 1999. I want to know what's the sweet spot for videos. Is it 10 minutes long? 15, 20 minutes? Apparently, people are New Jersey. Apparently, people have a really short concentration span. That's why TikTok is so big, right? That's why maybe TikTok is so big. But anyway, let me finish my conversation with my good friend Will on Zoom, Zoom, Zoom. As I've said before, I'm in the UK. Nearly 20 minutes long. Whoa, 20-minute long videos. I think conversations options have the option of going very long. All right. Right, you can email me the link. Oh, yeah. Yeah, let me do that right now. Well, let me do that right now. Where did Brandy go? Brady, my longest video on YouTube is 9 minutes and 10 seconds long. Let me ask you this though. Do your does your longest video get the most views, or your short videos are the ones that make? But hey, it's just short by half a minute. Do I get that? I don't understand. Feeling tired. Yeah, Dylan. Plus, you have to be up in the morning. You have to be up in a couple of hours. Dylan, you should get Zoom. I would love to talk to you and just have a crazy old fun time. A mixture of both. All right. All right. My most popular video has 804 views and one mention for saying it's long. So, are you convinced that short videos get the most views? Or is it about content? Maybe the parameters aren't scientific enough. I have to sleep, but I want to continue watching. Get on Zoom. Let's have a conversation, Dylan. You should download your Zoom and let's have fun. I'm enjoying talking to Will. Now my Zoom doesn't want to load. Give me 1 second, Will. Give me a second, please. I don't think length matters for the most part. How engaged the audience is a bigger factor. Next video has 200 views. Really, my shorter videos have more views. All right, no rush. I don't think length matters on this. How engaged? How engaged is what is a precursor for what you're talking about, what the content is about. I only have 8 videos though, so maybe the content is more of a determining factor that keeps people engaged or that attracts people, right? I wonder. I think before you have an audience engage your content, just help because there's less time commitment for the potential payoff of the viewer. Yeah, now Incrementium is getting the hang of it. You should immediately start your channel. Immediately. You know what to do. And you have all these theories. Oh my god. Mochi Girl is back. Mochi Girl, what's up? Oh, Brady. That's a lot, dude. That's a lot of subs. It's a lot of subs. Why isn't my Zoom loading? This is exactly why Will says uh, all the software will malfunction at one time and all the data will just go. Mochi Girl's name is fantastic. She's a BTS fan. I'm gonna go over things again. Only inactive for 2 months. Whoa! Baller alert. Big game hunting. Mm, zoom, 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 zoom. This video off. Launch meeting. Mm. Sales I've gained in a day was 20. Wow, Brady, what did you do to get when I played my most popular video? Like that. Ah, okay, okay, okay. Just a bit more. Invite. Copy invitation. All right. Where's my friend Incrementia? Incrementia. Here's your Zoom. Did you get it, Incrementia? I can email it to you. Where are we? There we go. Yeah, my internet died. I'm guessing internet is going to. Doing professional. Yeah, time. So you know. Yep. Got it. Neil, what's up? What's up? That's hilarious. Increment, yeah. Every time you have to figure it out in order to get on. Oh, Avengers. All day, every day. All day, every day. Even though I like Michael Bay, I love Michael Bay films. I love Transformers. Oh my goodness. I love Michael Bay. Hey, Will. Is Will in the house?
Hey, yeah.
You have to figure
Am I?
out.
Yeah, you can hear me.
Sorry? I have to go to sleep. See you next stream. All right, bye, Dylan. Bye. Thanks for hanging out, man.
But I did the same thing where it's like I forgot to mute because I'm watching the stream like so I can reply to the chat sort of thing, and I forgot to mute it again.
Yeah,
Bye, Dylan.
the the big the big plate spinner from Australia.
I may spin a lot of plates, but I also break a lot of plates.
I think it's the nature of the job, right? Isn't
Yeah.
isn't it that I watched the Joe Rogan Experience. Apparently one of the greatest magician ever. The guy used to swallow these swords. I think one of those swords killed him. It's like, wow, dog, you can't be doing that for a living. It
Yeah.
has a really steep underside. If you miss it by one nick, you're gonna do proper damage to yourself, and you're bound to do it.
Yeah, the one I was thinking about that is like, what happens if you like hiccup or cough?
When you feel the urge to just have the
Yeah, it's
hiccups
like you
and
feel a sneeze coming on. You're like, oh no, this isn't one. This is like at least three.
or sneeze or any of those things. Oh my goodness, that's a terrible question to ask. Oh, okay. So, um, do you have business interests? Do you have travel interests? I kind of love business. I love traveling. I love learning. You seem like an avid learner.
I was gonna say, I sort of like. I had this thing was like I want to travel, but also the idea of travel is very intimidating. Because like I don't think I've ever left the country. Depends if you count Tasmania, but but no, yeah, I've never been out of the country and stuff. So it's kind of this thing of like I'm definitely interested in it, but it's one of those things where it's like I feel like I'll be much more interested after the first experience. Cause I think it's one of these things we have like I don't know if it was your experience, but like that first time, it's like a biggest thing, and then once you get over that initial hurdle, it's sort of like it's a lot easier because you're used to it. But
yeah.
I think it's also different coming from Australia specifically, because like say you're like in America or something like that, it's like you can go to a country without really going to another country. Like you cross the border to Canada, you've traveled overseas, but like you travel out of the country.
Out of the country,
But
yeah.
it's like you have that chance, like a lighter version where it's not as big of a leap sort of thing. So it's like you kind of can get a bit more used to it, kind of thing.
You can be.
Whereas like Australia, it's like
You can go
everywhere.
to New
Everywhere
Zealand.
is like you cross at least one ocean.
Go to New Zealand, isn't it? Aren't there a lot of Australians in New Zealand?
I don't know if I don't know if I'd count New Zealand. Like I guess like technically several states, but like New Zealand is like this is like a little known fact about Australia. So when Australia was federating, like we were becoming like one country and all the colonies were uniting. New Zealand was actually supposed to be part of Australia, and Western Australia wasn't, because Western Australia was concerned that the federal government wanted to take all their mineral resources and stuff, like take control away from them. So but when that happened was last minute. Western Australia's like, bugger it, we'll just go in anyway. And New Zealand's boat was late, so they didn't get here in time for Federation. That's the only reason they're not part of Australia. So not the only reason, but the main reason. Like the way our constitution's written, they could still just be like, yeah, we want to be Australia now. We're like, okay, you're Australian now.
Did you grow up like playing rugby or cricket, all those famous sports from Australia?
I never played rugby. Like we played like touch, but we call touch footy, which is because in Australia football generally referring to rugby kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, played like the stuff like that in high school, but like I didn't really do anything like committed. I used to play like soccer as a kid and stuff like that. But my main thing was I did martial arts. I did taekwondo.
Oh my goodness, I want to
No,
learn jiu-jitsu. One of my nightmares is getting beat up by a group of scrawny little kids trying to get my phone or something. I hate that feeling.
Oh, that's the thing. I'm like a trap for that kind of thing because I'm really skinny. I look like a really unintimidating white dude, but it's like I'm the kind of person where like you'd see like someone might see me and I'd be like, oh, I'll mug that guy. It's like that's not a good idea.
It's not a good idea.
Martial arts is getting badly. Like I have a lot of control and restraint, but it's gonna hurt.
Oh my goodness, I want to be that guy. I really want to be that guy who just walks around thinking that no, I can probably handle most situations, whatever. Oh, okay. So, what belt did you go up to? Are there belts in Taekwondo?
Yeah. So depends. So there's different sort of like there's a couple of two main different groups of like the belt gradings. So like some people do one sort of version. We did the one that had white belt, yellow belt, blue belt, red belt, black belt, and then there's like one in between red and black, which is essentially it's called, I think it's Chodan Bo, which essentially just means apprentice black. So you're essentially a black belt, but you're too young to be a black belt.
Okay.
So I got about halfway. I got to blue belt, but I wasn't. So I did a lot of like the technical stuff as well, like gradings. But most of my stuff was the competitive fighting. So even though I was blue belt, I used to fight in a lot of open divisions against black belts and stuff.
Okay.
And like, because I'm really sick, I'm like 55 kilos. Like I weigh like nothing basically. Like this is an adult now, but I haven't changed my weight since I was a teenager. But I used to have to fight because I'm so light and I'm tall. I'd always end up having to fight up like 2 or 3 weight divisions. So I'm like 50 kilos fighting in like 75 kilo minimum weight divisions.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you really, when was the last time you entered a tournament? You.
Oh, not since high school. I ended up at the end of high school. I kind of made this choice where I'm like, I do enjoy doing martial arts, but I'm having to train a minimum of 3 to 5 days a week kind of thing to keep up competitively, like just to maintain the fitness and stuff like that. So I'm just like, I might have to let this go for the moment just to focus on studying. And then when I finished high school, I just haven't picked it back up yet. So it's been a fair while.
Oh, all right. But you still remember a lot of it.
Oh yeah, the muscle memory and technique is like burned into my like every part of my physical body. It's just like even now, like when I have like crazy, like really good reflexes. So I'll just like randomly just be like, oh, something drops. And I'll just like catch it with my foot before it hits the ground, and I'll say, oh yeah, that's that martial art training right there.
Oh, all right. And what about football? Were you any good at soccer?
No, I wouldn't say I was bad. Particularly, I think it was this thing of like, like when you sort of like you do something and you're like, oh yeah, I'm alright at this, but it's like if you committed to practicing and refining that skill, you could be good.
Yeah.
But it never drew me in to be like, oh, I'm like, I enjoyed this casually. I feel like if I played this competitively, I wouldn't enjoy it, so I never really went into any particular sports thing for a lot of that kind of same reason.
I find that there are a couple of parallels or semi-parallels between your life and mine. I'm somewhat tall, and everywhere from primary all the way to varsity, everybody's been telling me what a waste of a good body. You could have done anything you want with it. You could have built it up to be really, really good at something. Ma? Do you hear me well?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I was like, I nearly knocked stuff over, and I like went mic up. I was like, wait, gotta deal with this. So make a bunch of noise.
Oh, all right, all right.
I know what you mean. It's like this thing of, I think that's actually there's a whole thing with this. It's a psychology thing, and this is like a very millennial generation thing because it was a big thing around like, people when millennials and stuff were going to school about like oh, you're smart, you're bright, putting you into classes to do sort of better and stuff. But there's this whole generation of like, people who kind of like, it's tied to like a feeling of imposter syndrome and stuff, where it's like, oh, you could have been all these things, and then you didn't, kind of thing. It's sort of like, like there's a big shift in the way of education now. Not everybody does sort of thing, but like there's a lot more emphasis on basically praising effort, not ability. So like being naturally good at something is like, that's not really like, you didn't work for that. It's sort of like, that's just how it is. Whereas like if someone tries really hard, even if they don't get particularly far with it, it's much more important that you put the effort in and tried, rather than just kind of go with it because it's easy for you. You know what I mean? Like it's better to so foster sort of effort sort of thing, which is something I definitely think is a really good idea.
Yeah. Deadpool says maximum effort. I like what Deadpool says. I don't know. I think that's the one aspect a lot of people, well, all of us can control your effort. So I think it's glorified a lot, right? And there's the work ethic behind it. If you can control that, do you find yourself to be like a terribly hard worker? Do you think you are a hard worker or you are lazy?
I don't think. I think like lazy is like a title, is one of those things that's sort of very could be one of the like. A lot of things can come off and appear as lazy when they're not. I definitely don't think I try as hard as I should, and I could definitely probably achieve a lot more. But I think that there's a lot of other stuff, like complicating factors that sort of leads to me not doing different things and stuff. But like from the outside, like that's one of the things that I'm like, whenever I see someone not doing stuff, I'm usually like, no, I very like, I've never come to like, oh, that person's just lazy. I'm like, oh, is there something else that's holding them back? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
But no, I as far as like the thing of like, I definitely don't achieve as much as I probably could if I applied myself better. Because that's the other thing as well. Is like one of the things that you sorry, this is the reason I brought up the praising the thing is like, because what you end up doing is if you keep praising people being smart, what you're actually doing is they sort of, once that you think, oh, I'm reinforcing them, furthering this thing, but what you can actually accidentally do is you're building this fear of failure. Because it's like, if I do something and then don't do well, I'm disproving that I'm smart and I'm proving that I'm stupid, kind of thing. So that's one of the problems I have with the millennial thing. It's like there's a fear of trying because you don't want to disprove this praise you've already got, kind of thing. There's a whole, like, I can't remember the name of that fighter for you. There's a whole name of like there's that whole psychological thing they've given a name to related around this. Like it's become very apparent in the millennial generation sort of thing. But yeah.
I hear you. Okay. You're a really well-rounded figure, Will. I like you when I say to you that if you're a single guy, there's a girl that I would ask you to talk to. Every time it's just we are really good friends, the girl and I. So I can't go out with her. So every time I talk to her, I talk about movies. I talk about some interesting book I read. Like to drive home, one point, it's like this movie that I saw. It's like this other concept I heard somebody talk about. So I bring it all together, and she's so like, oh, so when did it was amazing. I heard about that. I had seen that TED talk Bill Gates gave a couple of times, right? It had like 15 million views on TED or something. All of a sudden, when the COVID started, everybody kept talking about it. I'm like, okay, so you guys only just got TED talks now? What's wrong with everybody? Right? I've been telling people that, oh, the Bill is talking about this, that, and the other thing, right? Oh, yesterday I was asking you about divorces. Are you particularly scared?
I don't have any like real fixed opinions like the divorces, like as far as like sorry, what
the people don't like this label of being divorcee. Are you one of those? Are you people don't like making those kinds of mistakes?
No. To me, if someone's divorced, all that says to me is okay. So whatever relationship you were in, you thought that it was something that was going to work long term, and it didn't. So like to me, it's just like okay, well, you found some kind of issue in your thing, like what I mean. Like that doesn't. I think that like it's kind of so that thing of like the fear of like being labels, and also like the concept that somehow divorce is a failure. It's like no, it's like you can't fail in a relationship. The only way you fail is by not trying. It's like if you got divorced, it means you committed to something.
And
you know what I mean? Which means you're trying to get. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
no, yeah, I don't think someone being divorced means anything except that they were married. You know what I mean?
and uh, were your parents married? Were you always intending to get married? Was it always on the cards? Is it a big thing, or you can just stay with somebody?
So, my parents were married the entire time, from basically, because I have like an older sister, and so they were married. Like we were all born after they were married, but it was one of these things where my parents sort of view marriage as this. Like I think this is common in a lot of Australia. There are a lot of people in Australia who are like, I don't know what the term for it is, because it's something that the government like basically is saying like you're married but you're not married. It's like you're just a domestic, like a long-term domestic partnership or something. So like yeah, for me personally, like for a very long time I didn't think I'd get married, not because I was like I'm going to be alone forever or anything like that, but just kind of like marriage is just kind of a label. It's not really something that's usually important to me. Like I have this thing where I think like especially if you're coming from a religious perspective, there's a lot of loaded ideas that come with marriage about commitments and all these different things which I just don't have attached to the concept of marriage. To me, marriage is like it's a legal contract in the sense of like it's kind of like just you're already committed. You're just signing a piece of paper that tells the government that you're committed or something like that. Or for like as far as like legal stuff like dividing assets, protections, and different stuff like that sort of thing. But yeah, the marriage to me was kind of like there's just sort of two parts of it. There's like the legal contract part, which is the sort of thing that has weight, and then there's the like social part, which to me is more about an expression of I love this. Like, to me, when I think of a marriage or like a wedding sort of thing, I think it's like, oh, cool, it's an opportunity to have a huge party with all your friends and just see all these people you haven't seen in ages and like reconnect and stuff. Like it's sort of thing. Like I have the same kind of feelings at funerals. Like when I die, I'm like I told my partner, I'm just like I want a big ass longboat. I want to be on the boat when they light it on fire, and everybody has to have a party for 3 days.
Just make a weekend
like,
out of it.
Celebrate and be happy, celebrate the life, don't mourn the absence, sort of thing. Like think about the good thing you had, you know what I mean? Appreciate it.
I really think that the old Roman guys, the old Greeks, I think they had it right there when it came to all these traditions, the ethos of life. I think to this day, if I lose somebody close to me, I still think it comes as a surprise, even though I know in my mind that I can die. A lot of people can die, but every time it happens, it's always shocking. It's too young, but everybody knows
Yeah.
that. But when it came to old Macedonia, old Greece, old Rome, people knew that any day, anytime, something can happen. So people lived a certain kind of way, expecting, knowing, and accepting already. So when you're talking about weddings or funerals being a celebration of life, bringing people together, it just talks to those kind of things. It speaks to those kinds of things of a way of life where you have to accept that this thing is a part of us. But I don't know how or why we lost touch with those kinds of feelings where we know
Well,
that.
it's different. It's different cultural influences. Like a really one that I find really interesting is the way that death is approached in places like India, because like you have, I'm not sure exactly which religion. I don't want to like misquote it sort of thing, but
Yeah,
like one of the I think it's possibly Hinduism.
yeah.
It's like the idea of death is you have your concept of reincarnation, right? So death isn't like an end process.
It's
Kind of
not a
like
final
that's
thing.
the starting of the next step sort of
Yeah.
thing, or like you're going to reincarnate or stuff. So within that viewpoint, when you die, there's a different reverence, like in like Western culture and a lot of in Christian stuff and that sort of thing. It's like the body is like it's sort of sacred. It's sort of a thing. Whereas there, it's kind of like once you're dead, like that's just a piece of material. It's like it was the form of vessel of you, but it doesn't have any particular value to the body itself. So that's why like cremation is a big thing, which works really well when you have like various like like disease spreading stuff and that sort of thing. It's like like just burn the body as quickly as possible, because that's sort of part of the process of like stepping off into the next thing and preventing disease and all this other stuff. But it's sort of it's weird. I think it's influenced heavily by culture and about how you think about death and what death means, kind of thing. Because like from my perspective, I'm as like my atheist sort of viewpoint kind of thing. It's like I don't have any perception or concept of like an afterlife. To me, it's like when you die, that's just the end.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so there's nothing after that. That just means that all you've got is, from when you're born to you die, so you just make the most of it. And so it's like, and so I like approach death with it. Like I don't really get sad when people die. It's kind of like like at the end of funerals, it's like I don't think about the loss of the thing that's now absent. I think about the great thing that I had and how much it meant to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I mean can make you sad, but I think there's like a lot of people get caught in different spots in that kind of emotional spectrum between like appreciating the positive stuff and then mourning the thing you've lost, but then also that's not even taking into account stuff like mixed feelings or resentments you might have, like say like if you have like a parent who was absent and then you have like they die and then you're like, well, I have these negative feelings about them being absent in my childhood, but then now they're dead and I haven't got the result and stuff. Like I think it definitely depends heavily on like the cultural perspective stuff.
Yeah, you're right. You're actually very right. Speaking of India, though, I think I just learned of recent how what's this system that they use, caste system. That's a terrible,
Oh
terrible
yeah,
system. I just learned about it
blame
early
blame
this year.
blame blame the English. The caste system, as far as I'm aware, I'm sure there was some kind of cultural thing before that, but the caste system specifically is something English put in place as like an institution to help control India. And the idea is basically if you get them too focused on fighting themselves, they're too busy to fight us.
Really? It was brought up by the
I don't know if that was obviously the specific thinking of it then, but they just knew it's like if you conquer someone and then you divide them into social classes and then tell them that, like basically manage to sort of convince them that they're causing each other's problems, they get preoccupied in the whole, especially if there's already like existing like racial tensions and stuff, which is like cultural tensions between different groups. It's like you feed into that, it makes it so they're too distracted to realize that actually your main problem is that the British keep taking all the resources and selling them somewhere else.
All right. Dude, I just learned about it and it devastated me. Like, how is it possible that 2021 people still live like this? I just don't get. Every time
it just gets culturally ingrained, so people don't like. It's not that like they don't know any different. Like obviously, like, people have concepts of other places in the world, but like they don't realize that it's like there could be a difference within their own cultural place. You know what I mean? It's been there for so long now that I think people don't think about an absence. And also, like the classic problem with that is that, like with any kind of power structure, like whatever, regardless of what it is, whether that's social stratification or like a caste system or anything like that, it's like there are people who have power who have a strong incentive to maintain the system because it's what gives them power.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this thing of like, and then it's like if people just get the idea in their head, like this isn't going to change, this is just how it is. You feed them on that level, then it's like, people stop questioning
it. Can I ask you this though? I think this is a very hi Xmas. This is a very unpopular. It might be very unpopular, but I wonder if this racism thing is a bias. I I'm black, so maybe it'll be perceived differently coming from somebody else. I just wonder, like, if Kodak only hired black people or hired women, why 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 would I wanna close shop if I could only just hire people with that's why I'm a big Arsenal fan, right? So we had this strong Arsenal manager for a long time, Wenger. He says sports is the great leveler. It's like we only look at talent, we only look at ability, we don't look at the color of skin. Of course, there are shades of racism maybe in the fans or whatever, but when I pick a team, I'm only looking for a good result. So I'm not gonna pick you because you are white or you're black or let any of those biases come into my system because I want to win the game. So if I'm Kodak and I want to stay open, I want to run a great business, and there's this thing that keeps holding me back. I don't want to hire women because I don't believe women are good or are great. I don't want to hire black people because I think black people. And next to me, there's a company that's hiring women and black folks, and they're contributing, and their company is growing. Why do I continue with the system of why do I still continue with? Yeah. So I wonder if these are just ingrained biases more than they are some terrible evil characteristics of white people handed.
Yeah, I think well, this is one of these big things that comes back. This is going to be a real left field thing, right? But this is something that Jordan Peterson's mentioned a couple of times. It's like there's an inherent problem with looking at someone like Hitler, for example, who's like definitely does that terrible thing, and just going, oh, that's a monster. Because
Yeah,
as soon as you just make it sort of this concept of like an other thing, you sort of remove that possibility and the realization that, oh, any person under
can
the wrong
have this. Yeah,
circumstances can become that thing.
yeah,
So it's like it's one of these things where it's like, yeah, like with racism, like I think that people think racism is some like inherent built-in thing in the sense
yeah,
of like, yeah, like it's like, yeah, I think a lot of people see racism where there isn't necessarily racism. There's a more logical and like reason why somebody might make stupid decisions. And like, and
yeah,
that is sometimes is just personal biases and stuff, but that
yeah,
doesn't necessarily mean it's like universal biases against like a whole group. Sometimes it's just I don't like this particular thing, but it doesn't make it right or anything like that necessarily. But it's like I think that just assessing things as oh this is racist is sometimes oversimplifying more complicated stuff that really you can't address while you're just trying to address it as like a racism problem. Yeah, you're right. Like it's this thing of like if you have like I'm definitely a strong advocate of like you want if you're doing whatever it is, whether it's a business, a sports team, like whatever,
yeah,
it's like it's completely counterintuitive to dismiss people based on something that has nothing to do with it, like
yeah,
with the job at hand sort of thing. And yeah, because you're just passing up on like these amazingly skilled people. It's like same with like ages and stuff. It's like just because someone's young
yeah,
doesn't mean that they can't be the leader of something. It's like sure they have as much like long-term life experience and sort of context for their decisions making and stuff like that, but that doesn't automatically exclude them from being a good leader. You know?
I think so. And I think um, I love Jordan Peterson. Right, I've learned a lot, and as somebody who grew up without a dad, to find
Mm,
some of these concepts, to find somebody who is thought thoroughly about certain things that maybe would have been passed down to me had I had a thoughtful father or some stupid thing like
mm,
that. Um,
mm,
like I I think one, racism is something that's learned. I don't think somebody is born with it or something
mm,
like that. And I think I need to approach you as somebody I care about. If I find that there's this thing that I read 2 years ago or something, there was a heckler in Vegas while Celine Dion was performing, and Celine Dion paused
mm,
everything, and then he asked the gentleman to come up on stage, gave him a hug, and he said, "You know what, guys? People are going through hard stuff. It's like who would want
mm,
to go pay money to go watch Celine Dion and start heckling Celine Dion, right? She could have just as
mm.
easily gave the
Like
dude
kicked him
attitude,
out or
it
something like
kicked
that,
him
and
out.
just like
Yeah, she went the whole other direction. So if I find that you have these wrong views based on skin color or whatever, I think maybe I should maybe empathize first, right?
mm,
Like, okay, you are misinformed. Let me talk to you like I would a small kid, bring you along, show you how you may be wrong, and not just
yeah.
label you
It's like a lot
as
of
a
time, yeah.
monster. Yeah,
It's like
like you were
racism
talking
often
about.
comes from a place of like, it's like, yeah, it's like yeah. So like racism, yeah. A lot of time it's like yeah, it comes from a place it's like people like good examples like in America. It's like a lot of that sort of association with black people and crime and stuff like that. It's
Hmm.
like that's people who are in a rough situation and it's like people is looking for a reason. Why is my situation so shitty? Why does it feel like I'm stuck here? And
Yeah,
so it's very easy to jump to the wrong conclusions about
yeah,
like what's causing that problem. But the thing is like it's like they're in a bad place and they're looking for a reason and it's like they're in like it's like they're in pain sort of thing. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's like you don't beat hate with hate. You fight hate with love. And I know that's like
yeah,
a cliche
yeah,
thing to say, sort
yeah.
of thing, but it's like do it by proving that those biases are like one of the favorite things. So like Australia, I don't know if this is much international, but Australia has a bit of a reputation for racism in some ways. But in
Against the
two specific things,
against the
people come
Aborigines,
to
right?
Australia. Hmm?
Against the Aborigines, I think Australians have a really
Oh,
terrible history.
that's a whole separate thing. Yeah, no.
Okay.
I mean against these people like coming to Australia sort of thing.
Oh,
But
okay.
I think it's a lot of it's a bit of misinterpretation. It's because like Australians have this thing with like, a lot of times like you treat everybody the same. So it's not like you're targeting that person. It's, you're getting treated like we treat everybody else, kind of thing. But also there's been a bad reputation of people going to like places like Bali and stuff in Thailand, and then kind of like it's like Cancun for America kind of thing. It's like a bunch of drunk people who are kind of shitty people, and most people in Australia wouldn't like them, but they just give a lot of the Australians as a whole bad reputation. But like I make a point of like I remember this one experience I had. I'm sure I scared the crap out of this dude. Me and my friend were driving. I think we were driving to or back from my friend's place. I can't remember exactly, but it was like at night, and it was like kind of raining a bit and stuff. And there's this dude standing like on the side of the road with like he had like a one of those suitcases that you like drag behind you, and it's a couple of bags. I was like, oh, that dude's like waiting for someone. But like I come drove past like the first time, and I looked at my like to check that, like, and so I doubled back. And it's like, hey, are you okay? Like, do you need a lift or something like that? And the guy seemed really scared, like he thought he was gonna get like mugged or like attacked or something like that.
Yeah.
And then like he ended up like talking for a second, like we gave him the lift because what he was doing is he was trying to go to his friend's house, he didn't know where it was, and he was waiting for someone to pick him up or something.
Yeah.
But but it's I love that you came away from that experience like he was a sort of bit scared and sort of out of his element in a foreign country and stuff because it was an international student sort of thing. And he came out of that. I was like, oh yeah, these really chill Australians just came and just randomly were just like saw that I was in the rain and helped me out kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like that's how you fight that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And you just touched on a point there that I actually love, um, this whole thing of whenever things are wrong, we can all as a society be clamoring to blame it on racism or blame it on something, black on black violence or whatever. It's like every time I hear about when I listen to the likes of Charlie Munger, psychology, I'm big on psychology, and you get to hear about these these perverse influences, the dogma, all these things. Um, it's a bigger deal than we make it out to be, right? Peer pressure
Yeah.
is not just for children, even in adult. It's a huge it's a huge thing that we are not looking.
Yeah.
So people tend to say the reason there's so much corruption it's because of greed. But when I hear logical thinkers talk about it, it's not greed as much as it is envy. There's a difference between greed and envy, right? The difference between
Yeah.
like what's that story about how you can how the devil's soldiers were talking to some monk, some devout monk trying to influence him to do something terrible. And they had spent so much time for so long, they were there trying to convince him to do something. And basically, they couldn't. Devil comes through, and one of the soldiers tells the devil, man, we've been working on this guy, he won't budge. Apparently, the devil just goes, whispers in the guy's ear. Immediately, the monk turns. So one of the soldiers comes, like, what did you say to him that in this shorter time you were able to turn him to one of us? He's like, I told him that his brother is doing better than he is. So this whole thing of jealousy,
Yeah.
envy, somebody close to you doing better. So that thing is ingrained so much into who we are. Like I love that example of in the agrarian age when you were plowing your field next to there's your neighbor to your left, to your right, everywhere. And if there's something wrong that you can't find and you find that your neighbor is doing better than you get riled up somehow,
Yeah.
right? What am I doing wrong? These guys are using the
The
same.
grass is always greener.
Yeah, these guys are using the same implements. They're using everything just as me. What am I? So that's what social media is, right? When you get on Instagram, you see your friend posting that he's on vacation and right now you are stuck in an office somewhere, whatever. So all these things, if you let them influence you instead of you really gotta be a student of the human condition. Otherwise, you let these emotions overpower you without realizing that you are being driven a certain kind of way, right? I once went on a
Yeah.
date with this girl at a very fancy lodge. We are there, fireplace, it's really nice. And she's on her phone the whole time. I'm like, dude, put that away. Let's talk. Let me talk to you. Let me see you. And she's busy posting, telling people she's having a great time. I'm like, I'm not having a great time. I sure as hell know you're not having a great time. Why are you telling people that we're having a great time? And she's posting these nice pictures of the place, and people are busy posting, commenting over what she just posted. Like, wow, so beautiful. You must be enjoying. She's like, yeah, it's fantastic. I'm like, what are you talking about? Right, I'm right here with you, and it's not going well. Right, so I think people are driven to do things like that instead of just being and enjoying what is. I
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah,
Just like live in the moment. Don't just think about
yeah,
like the optics thing. Because that was actually just part of why I don't have Facebook. Because it's actually like a whole psychology thing. Like Facebook causes depression
yeah,
because what you're
yeah,
doing is you're looking at a curated like thing of all these supposed like all like the greatest moments in someone's life, except they're not real. They're
I-
just like they're manufactured moments. Like there's aspects of it that are real, but like it's she takes 20 photos and posts one. It's like you're just getting that one perfect angle sort of thing. So you're
very,
always just
very
like
curated,
you're
very
constantly
curated.
just subconsciously comparing what you have to what they have and just saying, oh, I'm disappointed when I have it. It's like, no, you have plenty.
Yeah,
It's just like like you're kind of like keeping that psychology in your head of not letting it, like reminding yourself because I think you can't really completely defeat it, but you got to remind yourself that this is a like it's like the difference between like taking suppose your friends are going to get a professional photographer to take your pictures. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
you're not going to get the same outcomes unless one of your friends is a professional photographer.
yeah. I love the. Oh, by the way, Jacob, I'm talking to Increment. I know you might not be aware. I've completely abandoned my
Yeah, not
stream.
joking.
I've completely abandoned my stream. So
You just whatever I'm on, you just need to say like Will goes on a tangent.
yeah, um, I kind of those kinds of things uh, fascinate me. That's why you've been able to fascinate. Every time I talk about something that maybe I've thought about a lot, and I'm thinking, oh man, I can't go on that tangent, right? I can't do it right now. I'm trying to move at a
Yeah.
point. I was just trying to mention it on the way to a point that I'm trying to, and then you always latch on to that one. You're like, no, it's like this. I'm like, okay, crap. Now I have to talk about that, but I wasn't trying to. So now that I finally get to talk to you, I think we can explore those silly tangents. Like, what do you think of this? What do you think of? So I'd really love to. Now I've talked to you for about an hour or so, effectively, and
Oh, really? That's
yeah, I
like
think
10
so.
minutes have passed in my head.
I think so. I think so. And
Yeah. It's that right. It sounds about right.
yeah, so my thoughts were completely correct, thinking that I would like to have you on a podcast and really talk to you. We'd have a lot to talk about, and I don't even have to like write down your notes. Oh, Brandy, hey bro, I'm at Walmart. Oh my goodness, Brandy, bring me back Coca Cola. I love Coke.
I was typing that just as you said that. It was perfect timing.
Right?
I'm like, what can I get? What can I ask Ben to get you? I'm like, what's something that Walmart will have? Coke.
Right. I can't believe you haven't been outside of Australia. What are you doing? You should travel. I one of those things that I, I'm yet to have kids myself. I just don't see myself having children and telling them that the world is like this, whereas I'm just talking about some corner of the world, small corner of the world. I want to have traveled a little bit and like, okay, the world can be this way. Imagine being born in India in that caste system and you're busy teaching your children that you are inferior or you are superior. I think it's a terrible, terrible thing. I think people should invest in travel. Dave Chappelle says one of the most valuable things you have or you'll ever have is your memories. And rethinking or reliving, thinking about an old memory apparently psychologically it has the same effect as living through it again. You can still have the goosebumps. You can still
Yeah.
have, so it's a valuable thing to do. Just like people collect gold or collect whatever material things, people should really collect memories. It's a
Well, it's
value.
actually it's kind of funny. Like I haven't tried. What to playing the collecting memory thing is like I actually have this sort of thing where like I have a couple of boxes, and if you open them, they just looks like it's full of rubbish. But
Mhm.
what it is, it's a bunch of just little bits and pieces, like stuff like movie tickets, but there's also other things which look more like rubbish. Where it's just
Oh,
like I
oh,
have those because I'm just like I look at it and like it's like a memory sort of anchor kind of
yeah,
thing. Like of just oh yeah, I remember that fun time sort of thing.
yeah,
Like that's the thing. It's like I the stuff that I keep is things that are deliberately not valuable because like the value is in the memory and what it means to me, not in what
yeah,
it is.
yeah, yeah. Oh, definitely. I feel the same. I feel the same. I think a friend of mine went to do her masters in France, and she
Mm,
was like, I really don't like expensive furniture in the house. I would rather have a lot of pictures detailing where I've been in the world. It shouldn't. It's not
mm,
even a picture that or a painting that's worth loads of money. It's just a painting you got from Paris, painting you got from London. It shouldn't. It shouldn't even cost a lot of money. Like what you're saying about stubs from movie
mm.
tickets. Like, oh, this I went out like 10 years ago or whatever. It was a really good movie. I remember such and such. It's just one of those things that I love, or just
It's like
T-shirts,
I was gonna say,
stuff like that.
sorry.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's ironic that like I actually have like one of the things because I haven't traveled, but both my sisters have traveled like relatively
Hmm.
like a bit. And like one of the things I actually have is very like topical. I have like a wax candle that's like a line in it, like there's carved into it that my sister I think got from India, I believe.
Yeah.
It's one of these things where it's like it's just a candle, but it's a
Yeah.
simple like
Yeah.
it's like yeah.
It has a
Probably the
story.
main reason I haven't traveled. So sorry to answer that question because like basically money. Like I would love to travel. It's a matter of sorting out the finances.
But
Sorry, back to
yeah,
what you were saying.
I read this other book while I was in college of this guy who traveled the world going. He was a business guy, and basically he took a
Mm,
year, 2 years with his fiance. I forget the title. He took two BMW motorbikes, and he drove
mm.
across the world with them with his fiance. So he was a business
Oh,
guy.
like a road trip.
Yeah, across the world. So every country he went into, he just visited the stock exchange, bought like a grand worth of stock, and just kept going, kept
Mm,
going, kept going. So one of the things that I like about this YouTube thing is I think over time I'll be making a little bit of money in it. I just wanted to figure things out so that I know how to scale. I like figuring things out small scale, and then now I know, okay, I
mm.
just need to rinse, repeat, 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 repeat. So
Yeah, yeah. It's an economies of scale thing. Once you get the stuff like locked down on a small scale, you
yeah,
can easily scale it up, kind of thing. Yeah,
yeah, that's why I wasn't concerned about getting to 10,000, 20,000 subscribers quickly. I just wanted to figure things out I didn't want it to be too heavy on myself. I just wanted to know, okay,
yeah,
if I wanted to gain like 100 subscribers, 20 subscribers, what would I do? Sponsored ads, whatever, Facebook, Instagram, what elements do I need
mm,
in order for me to do this? And then I get to travel. So if I go to a place, a zoo, national park, videograph the whole thing, put it together, right? I'm
mm.
bound to make a little bit of money out of that, right? So every time I do something, I
Yeah, yeah,
spend money, I make a little bit of money, I spend money up until it accrues. That's what I was trying to tell you yesterday, that
yeah, yeah,
when you talked about the whole flash thing, it's like if YouTube is on for the next 10 years, potentially one video can make you money for the next 10 years, right? Whether it's
yeah,
money, whether
yeah,
it's a lot of money or it's small bit of money. But if you have a lot of videos making you small amounts of monies, it can be just a tiny bit. So traveling doesn't get to
mm.
become too costly, right? So
Yeah,
when,
yeah.
yeah,
And YouTube has that really good flexibility where it's like you it's like I mean depending on what you're doing, obviously it's like
yeah,
it's like especially because at the moment where you're like small scale and you don't have a
Yeah,
lot of equipment heavy like stuff, you don't have like special sound
yeah,
equipment. It's like it's very easy to just I can just pick up sticks and be somewhere else
and
and do
just
the
go.
same thing.
Yeah, yeah. So I kind of like that. If I can do that on weekends, during the week I work, and then on weekends I get to travel, and I know maybe I make 20% of my money back somehow, or by the end of the year I'll see whatever happens. So I just like that whole thing. I'll be trying it out, and then maybe now I'll be serious about, okay, let's try to make it as big as possible. But right now I just wanted to make it a part of me, so that it doesn't feel like an effort. So if I'm talking to
Yeah,
Will and I'm not sleepy, I'm really interested in what he's saying, all these things, I'm just trying to to make it not seem like work, right?
yeah,
Just to
yeah,
be an extension of my. That's why I keep telling you, like, no, it doesn't matter if your first video sucks, or you are nervous about your lighting, how you look, what you're wearing. Just do it. Just do it, do it, do it, do it. And then over time, you'll know, okay, I kind of actually want to head out in this direction more than I want this direction. And you let it shape, become whatever it needs to become. So, yeah, travel costs a lot of money, but I think there are ways to
it's definitely
mitigate
worth
it.
it. It's like it's an investment in
Yeah,
like good
yeah,
memories and sort of
yeah.
fun times. Yeah,
Yeah. And by the way, the guy
yeah.
ended up marrying the girl he traveled with after that 2 years. Like, okay, this is my ride or die kind of girl, whatever. So
I feel like that's like one of those crucibles. It's like like the people say a thing of like yeah, I can hear you. Oh, there we go. The stream's back. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry, it's got stuck with it. That's one of the things with marriage. It's like thinking it's like how people like people like get married before they've lived together. It's like that just seems like a terrible idea to me. It's like living together is one of those crucibles where you find out can I actually tolerate this person on
oh
like
yeah,
a
you
longer
do
scale
need
kind of thing.
you did
Like
need
same as
that
travel. It's like
crucible. Oh,
here we go. Yeah, we go. I can hear
it,
you.
is it Australian network? Is it me or is it you?
I think I'm not sure. That's the problem. Like I'm really bad at troubleshooting. I think because it could be Australia, it could be. I think that time was yours because the
Last
screen
time it
paused
was
at the
me.
same
Yeah,
time. It's like I was like I'm keeping an eye on the screen. It both stopped at the same time. I'm like okay, that's
it's
slightly more
me.
likelihood that it's not my connection.
Yeah, yeah.
My internet's really stupid. So I have this like this long ass cord when the internet comes in, and it's like it's hard to describe, but basically it's like it's primed for being tripped on and pulled out of the socket.
Really?
So sometimes it just trips in the cord and the cord pick up no internet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but Will, this has been cool.
Yeah,
I think we've touched on a couple of things that were supposed to go on the podcast. I think I could talk to you like 2 hours easy, no problem.
that's the problem. It's like not trying to get me to talk for long enough. It's trying.
Right? Don't just to find more friends. It's just interesting, right? I, there was no way I could have found out there's a Will out there in the world if I didn't do this channel, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and I didn't need to offend anybody. I didn't need to go anywhere. I just needed to be in my place, just on the computer. So you can also
yeah,
find like your little community of friends, or just find people like-minded in certain subjects, and just see
yeah,
what you can make of it. A lot of people like to focus on the fact that Twitter can be terrible, the internet can be so horrible. Yes, it can, but I think in the main, it has made us find each other. We all love The Rock. Oh, you love The Rock? Oh, I remember this WrestleMania so and so. Oh, really? They had it on in Australia. They had it on in New Zealand. They had it on in America. Everywhere. Oh my God! So all these things that, of course, there are terrible people, there are dumb people out there. There are all kinds of people out there, just like there are in your neighborhood, right? All these things are there. It's the human condition. So I just find it very, very fascinating. Super, super, super fascinating that I can talk to you and you know all about Pokemon, the things that I kind of liked, I can talk to you about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder, all these funny things. And
Yeah.
you get to talk to Brandy, you get to talk to all these people. I find it fascinating. I think
Mm.
you should build your own little community and see what to do with it. Right.
Yeah, it's definitely something I'm definitely gonna like looking at in subsequent
Stop looking
couple of
into
days.
it.
Just
Go,
like reassess it.
yeah, take a dive.
Oh no, it's we're looking into it so stuff like okay, I need to pick a good channel name.
Yeah, just take your camera phone or use your webcam or whatever. Hello, YouTube. What's up? This is me, whatever. And just get started and stuff like that. Don't spill secrets about your.
Don't spend all your time thinking about it. Like
Yeah,
don't let thinking about it stop you from doing it. That's the
definitely.
thing. Yeah.
Definitely. Just as you are free to comment your thoughts on people's platforms, you can just say them out loud in camera and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But anyway, it's been so great to talk to you, man. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm keeping you from anything right now. I think I have like.
Honestly, I have like nothing on today. I can
Can
yeah.
you please Among
Wait,
Us
there we go. Sorry.
Sussy Imposter? What is that?